What is up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. We're at this is episode 14, so welcome. Welcome if you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, or if you're joining us on Twitter. Welcome everywhere. If you're joining us on the audio-only version, thanks a lot. Whether it's on Apple iTunes or Spotify, we're here for you wherever we can get you, man. So with me as always is Tony Stabile. Tony, what's up, dude?
What's going on, gentlemen? We have a lot to talk about tonight, so I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got an action-packed show. Jason, what's up, dude?
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Let's get geeky.
Happy Wednesday, as Rick dubbed us, the Wednesday Warriors. As
The
we
Wednesday Warriors. I love it.
Nice. Love it.
Absolutely. But there was a big trailer that dropped. There was a couple of trailers, actually, but the one we're going to focus on tonight is the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings teaser trailer dropped. Tony actually discovered that one as I was getting my biannual dental cleaning over there. And I pop out and I'm like, holy shit, there's a trailer out of nowhere.
Literally.
Yeah, like literally out of nowhere. I didn't hear anything about that coming. But Jason, you are not usually the guy who is in love with trailers, but I know you watched it. So what do you think?
Oh, I think it looks awesome. I mean, so I'm excited about this because I have no idea who this character is. Like, I don't even know him from the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because that means I get to go in and experience this for the first time. But this trailer hyped me up for it. I mean, it's action-packed. It's got a little comedy. I think the cast looks good. And there's even some scenes that sort of look like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
From many years back? And I'm sure that's on purpose. I guess now we're finally getting Marvel doing like a kung fu flick, I guess, right? But I think this looks super fun. I'm all on board for it.
Yeah, no, as am I. And like we always say that the strength of what Kevin Feige brings to the MCU and overlooking things is that we get something brand new each time. And there is a superhero genre which they've cornered, and then they bring in subgenres, for and that's been going on for years, and that's what keeps it fresh. Tony, as the one who got the scoop on this thing, what did you think?
Oh, I hated it. I couldn't stand it.
That's it. Shut it down. It's like this is the biggest. No,
it's a piece of shit. No, and honestly, it looks fantastic. And I'm with Jason. I don't know a tremendous amount about Shang-Chi. I don't remember very much at all about it. I haven't done any research on it at all. But it looks great. It really does. The action looks fantastic. Typical Marvel. The way that their CGI and everything. I mean, and I immediately, just like you said, Jason, I thought Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon immediately when I saw that. With the flying through the air and then the water almost moving in slow motion with them and whatnot. And it looks really, really good. But getting an actual Mandarin, which I'm ecstatic about.
Thank you.
We they went and retconned that after they took a lot of heat for Trevor Slattery, and I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see what this movie is all about. But the teaser was outstanding. It really was.
Yeah, no, and like you said, the big takeaway is that we're getting an actual Mandarin, and they're correct. They're course correcting my huge issue with Iron Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna go too far into Iron Man 3. Actually, in the original format of Granny's Peach Tea, that was one of the films that we did cover. Me and Jason and Tim.
I think that was the first one we covered, actually.
Yeah, we recorded it at your place, and we had this whole thing, and that was one of, I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes we did. But that was the one MCU movie that we did cover, and that was the biggest hiccup, in my opinion, in probably the entire history of the MCU, was they just did that and they got a little too cute with it. But we're gonna get that completely straightened out this time. And from what I understand, also we're supposed to be getting Fing Fang Foom.
Get the hell out of here!
Yes, 100%.
I had heard the rumor about that. I wasn't sure, but that's exciting.
And from everything we've seen, everything I've seen, at least on Red, that's pretty much the deal. Like they said that's going to be involved. I am dying to see how they make that not look goofy.
I'm
Marvel
excited.
always figures out a way not to make something look goofy. So I mean, I have full confidence that they're going to be able to pull that off. But actually, it's funny because the other morning I was waiting for the bus with my son, and I said, "You want to see the new Marvel trailer?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's see it." So I put it on. So I have it hooked up to the stereo in the truck, and it's like, so it's coming out of the speakers, and he's looking at it on the screen, and he watches the whole thing, and he looks at me, and he goes, "I don't know who this guy is, but that looks awesome."
That's all you need to know.
I said, "That's the same thing, pal. I'm on the same page. I have no idea what this is about, but it looks really good."
And that's fine, but yeah, it looks crazy. I can't wait to see more of that. I mean, again, it was just a teaser, whet the appetite for it. But yeah, super excited. There's the boss chiming in. Fellas, what's up? What's up, Farachi? What's the deal, dude? Thanks for joining us. All right, so then we talked a little about the MCU trail. We got some more MCU content coming by in a little bit, but let's jump into CW verse. For Tony's favorite segment every week is Batwoman, season 2, episode 10.
The show I love to shit on.
He loves to shit on it. But he's never seen
it. Not one episode.
It's funny. I don't have to see it to know that I don't like it.
No, and that's fine. Listen, to each his own. Jason and I we're going in. We're watching it each week and everything. And listen, we're sharing our thoughts with you guys, and hopefully some of you guys and gals out there are enjoying it as well. So Jason, I actually think we got another solid episode, and I think that's 3 in a row.
I agree. And again, and this is gonna be the last time I say it, unless she's brought up again in the show. But you know what we didn't have in this show is a lot of Kate Kaning going on.
That is correct. It was eased up on the Kate Kane shit.
Yes,
they recast her. She's coming back,
and we know how. No, but we know how. Yeah. But Tony, the thing though is that, which I'm sure obviously from us just completely, that's one of our pet peeves with the show, is that it's just that the fact that it's holding the show back a lot, where they talk about it constantly, but they've eased up though. They've actually let the characters that are on screen actually do their thing. And it's progressing. The show is actually moving forward now.
And that's wonderful. And that's a wonderful thing that they're doing. But the problem behind it is that it's only temporary because now, because they recast her, that she's coming back anyway. So
I'm hoping
only like a pause. It's not even like they're moving away. It's only on pause.
But Jason, would you agree though that I think we would be okay with them obviously talking about her if she was actually there? Like when the recasted actress does appear and Kate Kane does reemerge, the fact that the character's there is another story.
That's a different story.
Yeah, when we were all under the assumption that she was gone and that was it, and we're never going to see her again, it was just holding the damn thing back. But the quick version of this week's episode, Ryan teams up with Sophie to take down Black Mask and the False Face Society, and they're trying to steal some fear toxin, which, if you're a Batman fan, fear toxin is connected with Scarecrow, and that's also featured in Batman Begins on screen. So that's pretty much, they needed to make more Snakebite, and then they find out at the end of the last episode, Angelique, who is Ryan's, I don't know if she's X or not X or whatever the hell.
Yeah, they're trying to work things out.
That's a good way to put it. They're trying to work things out. But she's cooking, apparently. She's like Breaking Bad style cooking for Black Mask.
She's got Walter Whiting it up over there.
Yeah, seriously. So, I mean, she's in a pretty tough spot. And then Alice is trying to make Enigma pretty much erase Kate. And that's the only time she's ever mentioned, but it doesn't matter. And Ocean, who we met this season, and he's a character that's been important to this year. But my WTF moment,
I got one too.
Before I pass, I'm sure you do. Before I pass it off to you for you some of your thoughts on it, was that when Sophie finds the AI unit in the car at the end, right? Because this. All right, so she placed it. So what happened was Luke Fox, Ryan goes undercover because apparently False Face Society is going to go ahead and steal this fear toxin by way of like Fast and the Furious style, like fast cars and crap like that.
Well,
So Ryan goes undercover.
They're like getaway drivers, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, but I'm pretty sure the first thought when and they even joked about it in the episode. At least they were self-aware that that's what it kind of looked like. And that's fine. They weren't like blatantly ripping it off. It wasn't like they had a guy named Din Diesel as Black Mask or some shit like that. But to help Ryan blend in, Luke installs that device that kind of helps drive, the Batmobile normally, but now helps her drive the car. So Sophie finds this AI unit in the car towards the end of the episode, and she goes and listens to a recording on it, which I'm not quite sure why there's a recording on it. Is this your what the fuck moment?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So she goes at it, and the two moments she happens to listen to out of the entire time that this was going on was when Luke mentions the Batmobile and when Ryan mentions I'm missing my bat suit. Really? Out of the whole recording, that's the two moments that she happens to stumble upon? Because it's not like they showed her scanning through and anything like that. She just hits play twice and bang, they're right there for her.
It's a lot. There's a lot of convenient stuff. Another WTF moment I had, which is very much in that like vein of, oh, how convenient, is when what's her face, Alice is in this therapy session with Enigma, which I actually really enjoyed the therapy session between Alice and Enigma. That was really cool. Enigma actually kind of a cool character. I'm in to see more of her.
Yeah.
But then like Ocean shows up out of nowhere, and he's like, it's like, how did you know I was here? Well, I'm in town on unrelated business, and I heard that someone was meeting with Enigma, and he's like, it's this convoluted thing. It's like, there's no way he could have known she was there.
Absolutely not. And that is just, that's a pretty good one too. Those are pretty bizarre moments, to say the least. And I mean, but we've been watching the show now where we've watched 10 episodes. I've watched an entire other season, but you kind of just let that go.
Whatever. It wasn't like egregious. Like it wasn't like I've seen worse on this show. Okay.
Oh, absolutely, we have.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of pointing at it and poking fun at it. But I think there was a lot to like about this episode. I like the Tokyo Drift stuff. I liked, again, the therapy session. I actually really enjoyed Alice and Enigma, the actresses playing off together. It's nice to see Batwoman being able to Batwoman, right? That's nice.
That's cool.
That she is the show, supposedly. Black Mask is that guy who plays Black Mask is always fun to watch. Like,
I like him.
He's got that moment with Ryan's ex, whatever, right? And he's like, so you take the snake bite. She's like, no, that'll risk my sobriety. And he's like, dear, I don't care. Yeah. that was just like such a cold moment. I loved it.
And he's been ice cold throughout it.
He has been, and he's really, the character's been consistent, which I think is what I like about him, because this is a very inconsistent show. Yes. But yeah, I thought like this is a fine episode. I enjoyed a great many parts of this episode.
Yeah, so all right, so we've got some solid episodes now, so it's not like we're just like gonna hang ourselves every week. I'm like, all right.
Can I ask you guys a question about this thing? And again, I'm an outsider on this.
Go ahead.
But it seems to me, and it just because of timing, when they came into the season, they announced that they announced obviously at the end of last year that Ruby Rose wasn't coming back, and then they killed off the character supposedly, and then they had the new Batwoman come in and everything like that, and then from the very beginning. They started with all of this nonsense with, is she still around? They got little clues here and there, whatnot or whatever. And then all of a sudden they announced that they've recasted her, and all of a sudden everything stops, right? Now you don't hear anything about her anymore. Do you think that they timed all this perfectly, that they announced that she's not coming back, they announced a new one, they kept her in the show up until a certain point, then they announced to have the big announcement that they have recasted, and then that's it, that they're not going to talk about it for the rest of the year? I mean, do you think that that's the way that they played this?
Well, no, because we do know where technically she is. Like Black Mask and False Face Society, they have her, like in Enigma, so we know kind of an idea of where the character is. but they're just not focusing on her.
But that's my point.
Every single time.
Do you think that they synced up the idea of the fact that they announced the fact that they've recasted, and then now it's to the point where they don't have to play? It's just if she's back, and then that's the end of it. It's like, does it seem like that they set this up that way?
I could see that, although it's a ham-fisted way to set it up, because it's one thing to drop hints here and there. Hey, everyone, just to remember, Kate Kane was a character on this show. But again, I sat there and counted how many times the woman's name was mentioned, Kate Kane, in an episode, and it was like 10 times. And this was, so it might have been that, but it was done really, really poorly if it was.
Well, the whole thing, I think, was done poorly because they obviously knew when they started writing the show that they weren't going to write her out totally. So they knew they were going to recast her at some point. So to wait till episode 8 to announce the fact that they are, that's kind of, it just seems like it's all botched. Like the whole thing was botched.
I think the smarter move. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, unless their plan is not to have Kate Kane come back as the star, but they bring her back, and maybe she has other things she's doing, and maybe she's a character on the show, and Batwoman still remains Batwoman, and maybe it's to give Alice something to do so they can keep that character around. That's kind of my hope. My hope is if they do bring her back, that she goes and has her own separate adventures with Alice and lets Batwoman stay Batwoman, because I just think it's a stronger character. So that might be the route they're going, in which case, it would, I guess it would make sense? Question mark?
Yeah, I would think that they'd have to keep Batwoman as the star of the show.
She's definitely not anywhere.
Yeah, so I would think that she's going to be the star, and that this girl's going to have to play second fiddle. But obviously, it makes more sense. You have a new, you have a new person playing her she would play second fiddle to the new Batwoman. So I don't know. It just seems to me like, and again, I'm not watching it, but just hearing how this whole thing is put together and seeing how now all of a sudden, amazingly, that there's no talk of her anymore. And it's like, okay, well, they announced 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden that she's just not being discussed anymore. It just kind of made sense that maybe they just did the way they did it.
I think the smarter thing for them would have been is to never not publicly announce that she was recasted and kind of let the public assume that she's dead. And then you could have brought her back in the season finale or something like that, and completely
it would have been a jaw-dropping moment.
Yeah.
It would have been a jaw-dropping moment. It would have been. They would have been like, "Who the fuck is this? It's perfect." So I don't know. That makes more sense to me, at least.
Oh, we'll see what happens and how that plays out. But honestly, I'm not totally dreading watching the show anymore. It's not just like, hey, I'm watching it just to talk about it on here. I actually think it's been fine. It's my least favorite of the CW shows, but whatever. It's fine. We'll see where it goes. Before we move on, Alex has a comment. Jacket Jason's wearing was the same one he wore in episode 1. Wow.
Oh my God. That's
wow. I've worn this one. I don't remember what episode. Alex, if you remember which episode I wore the Black Panther t-shirt last time, please
I've had this one on at least once before, so
yeah, exactly. And this has turned into the default cap.
It is the default cap now.
My wife calls this sweatshirt my outfit, because whenever it's chilly or whatever, I just put this on. So I'm always wearing this thing.
Cozy hoodie, man.
Bro, mine's right over there, bro. It's right over there. It's my house coat.
So speaking of things that Jason also finds cozy, Black Lightning, season 4, episode 8. Jason, take us through it, man. What did you think? What do you got?
All right, I like this episode. This is another on the ground episode. We're not really seeing a lot of he doesn't put the suit on, right? It's a Jefferson Pierce episode, which I love. I love my Jefferson Pierce. We start highlights, right? Tobias is coming after Jefferson by legal means, right? He's taken his father's house to build a hospital using eminent domain. He is setting him up to look as if he's embezzling money from the high school, Garfield, right?
Yeah, Garfield.
Yeah, from Garfield High School. So he's ruining his reputation. He's taking things from him. I think that's sort of a clever cat and mouse way for them to go at this. Because I think this show works. It works when they're punching the hell out of each other, but I also think it works when they're doing these more backdoor slyish things.
Yeah.
We do get some fighting. We get the assassin that put Lala on ice a couple episodes ago. He gets his first shot at Anissa, and that is my favorite moment in the whole thing. I have a note that says nobody expects a leopard attack indoors.
Yes.
No one.
That was some shit.
That was like, this guy is wrecking house on these two, on Anissa and her wife, who's a shapeshifter, and like they get some good shots in, but like he's pretty much winning the battle, and he like tosses the wife to the side, and she turns into a leopard and just pounces and starts to maul him. And I'm thinking to myself, now this guy needs, I don't care how good he is, he needs to run after this. And I loved it because he just was like, whoa, and he freaking fled. So I thought that was a cool moment, right?
It was.
Let's see. We find out that woman Val, her powers, which is Tobias's right-hand woman, her powers are to negate other people's powers. So that's likely going to come up at some point. And let's see. I think
the power then. Well, remember the what's it called? Damn it, his Mrs. Pierce.
I always forget her name.
I'm drawing a blank quickly, but she goes ahead and injects Gambi
yes,
with that ability, and it ends up negating TC's abilities and Jefferson's abilities when they're trying to like find out exactly how the hell Tobias is doing this whole thing.
That's right. Absolutely. Which was cool because you didn't know that was going to happen, and you have TC going like, I just can't talk to these things. Like I don't know what's happening, and that's how they figure it out. And I think I do. Oh, we get some more Painkiller, which I thought was cool. I can't.
The tie-in was cool.
That.
Yeah,
I thought that was a nice tie-in. We get to see a little stuff on his end. I'm sure, like he's kind of intimated that he's going to try to help them out with their Tobias problem. So I think that's cool if they bring him in and then they go send him off and give him his own show after. Not that the backdoor pilot was the last we see of him till his show. So that was good. And I do have a WTF moment. I can't believe it, but I do have a WTF moment with Black Lightning, and that is there is no way in hell. I work in a school. There is no way in hell that they would get like the Jennifer with the new face, just like, oh, this is our cousin. Like, okay, where's your paperwork? Do you have your shots? We need to see those back. Like, there's just too much. There's too much red tape to get into a high school or get into a school at all for them to have been able to pull this swap off. And I get it. Like, they didn't plan on having this face swap. It's something they just kind of had to do. But like the whole thing about trying to play her, sort of not explain where the real Jennifer went and try to have it where she's like their cousin, it just doesn't make any sense. That just wouldn't work.
Yeah, they didn't have to have her go to school or something. I think you just kind of didn't really need to do that. But I thought there was an interesting moment though when she calls Jefferson, and she actually refers to him as daddy, and he questions
yes.
And it made me start being suspicious of the new Jennifer from there on. I don't know, did you get that impression, or maybe was that just me?
No, I got the impression that something has changed. Like, I wasn't suspicious, but I'm thinking that, like, her looks have changed, so maybe in this reshuffling, parts of her personality have changed. So I don't know if they're going going to go, like, villain with it or, something insidious, but they're setting something up.
Yeah, I think there's more to it than just, you look different, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess overall, I don't think it was a bad episode. I kind of just felt like it was there. It advanced the plot, like, for the season, and it took things where it needed to go. You tied in Painkiller, which was nice. I wasn't really sure if we were ever going to see him again, just kind of way that was left off. But overall, I don't think it was their strongest episode. I think it might be the weakest episode of the season, at least in my opinion, but, whatever. Again, their weakest episode is better than most shows, regular episodes. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I guess talking about some episodes that I felt were kind of filler was Supergirl, season 6, episode 4. We got Zero Lex. which is never good. I'm
No.
always going to be annoyed with that. But Kara is still in the damn Phantom Zone. You know, Team Supergirl is still fighting the Phantoms again. I mean, granted, they defeat the Phantoms, and it's like Prime Phantom, I think, or Phantom Prime, or whatever the hell it is. It was one of those, destroy the others, and they lose the main guy loses his power cut type of storyline. You had Brainy actually not throwing around a box of donuts like it was empty completely, like he did with the pizza box a couple episodes. He was actually eating the donuts throughout the entire episode, and they actually gave a reason for it. I actually thought it was a pretty funny through line throughout the episode.
That was funny. His stress eating, I love that, or his guilt eating, whatever it is. Like, I love the fact that when he gets really, really like hinged, he eats.
Yes, even though he's a 12th level intellect, as he reminds Lena Luthor at one point.
That's right.
But no, I mean, I felt like we got kind of like two somewhat filler episodes in a row with Supergirl, like just nothing really to really get into. I thought some of the things that were kind of cool though was Brainy's, besides his donut eating, was his Ghostbusters reference, because when Lena gives him that thing, my mind already went to Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad that they again acknowledged it, and it's not like, hey, we're not ripping you off, it's an homage thing.
Right.
And that's fine.
And it did look like Ghostbusters, absolutely.
It looked exactly like Ghostbusters. I mean, but whatever. Though the CW verse, though, they do a good job overall with like acknowledging the sometimes silliness that's on there, because it is like a fun thing. You can't take them like super, super seriously. A lot of these shows. So
isn't the Ghostbusters is owned by? Aren't they owned by Warner Brothers now?
I don't think so. I have
no idea.
Yeah, they're debuting on HBO Max when the movie comes out.
Yeah, but that might be because weren't they Universal? I don't know. I'm not sure who. I don't think it is Warner Brothers. I could be wrong. No. Actually, I'm sorry, Tony. Sony owns the rights to Ghostbusters.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Sony does not have a streaming platform, which is why big news that broke today, which we weren't going to dive too far into, but they reached a deal that Spider-Man and all their Marvel content is going to appear on Disney Plus and Hulu and a lot of the Disney-owned stuff. So to me, that pretty much says, hey, we're not going to jump into the streaming wars. So we're going to try to find homes for our content. So that's where that is. All right. So speaking of a streaming service,
before we go, I did have a WTF moment for Supergirl.
Go
one for each of them.
Wow, 3 this week. Woo!
Yeah, I know. So you learn on maybe the third day in getting your supervillain PhD is you don't reveal your evil plan before you have a chance to enact it, which is what Mixoplex's cousin does. Like, she's like, well, we should just kill your father. No, I don't want to kill my father. He's holding you back. No, we're not going to kill my father. Okay, then, by the way, I'm going to go to your world and I'm going to wreak havoc just for fun. It's like, oh, well, thanks for telling me. I'm going to smash this mirror and beat the hell out of you now. It's like, you kind of withhold that information until you get to Earth. That made no sense to me.
It was very Bond villainish.
It was. But at least when Bond villains do it, they think they have the upper hand.
Yeah,
Bond is somehow restrained. Supergirl is just walking around. Like...
No, Kara, I expect you to die.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I needed to.
No, that's a good one. I was trying to, in my mind, I think I was trying to gloss over that. I remember rolling my eyes when I saw that. And I was just like, oh, whatever, just go ahead. My takeaway from that was, oh God, she's still in the damn Phantom Zone. Please get out of the Phantom Zone already.
I think she's buying a timeshare in the Phantom Zone. She's never leaving.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. It's just that whole storyline is just not doing it for me. I just kind of want her out of there, man.
I think it's going on too long.
It's also kind of shocking to me that the last season of a show that's been on for 6 years, you're going to have multiple filler episodes. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Like, you would think like you're going to go out with a bang, and it should be. This is not a 22 episode season. Am I correct?
No, I'm pretty sure. I know it is. Supergirl, it will be going on for a while. But usually your fillers are kind of later in the season. I mean, we're taking them as fillers. I'm sure they don't think it is. But
it feels like it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it.
If you've been watching this show all along and you're saying it's a filler, I believe it's a filler.
Yeah, no, I've seen literally every single episode of Supergirl. So, I mean, that's kind of what it is.
I'm in my catch-up phase. I'm halfway through season 2.
Yeah, Jason, I'm curious to see your feedback on this. I think you're going to end up liking that show. But I think you also, as much as I like the show, I do think season 6 was a good time to potentially end it. My only problem with it, I'm ending this and Black Lightning though, is are these characters just going to vanish forever, or because you did establish in Crisis the whole Justice League thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's falling apart fast. So I kind of just feel like they seem to be pretty good with tying in those loose ends. So I'm curious to know what the resolution to that whole thing is.
Well, once Kate Kane left, the whole Justice League seemed like a moot point.
Whatever. they upgraded as far as listen, but we know the Justice League and the Avengers, they go ahead and they can just recast you real quick.
That's true.
So yeah, who cares? All right, but let's jump into Amazon's Invincible, episode 6 of one. I mean, what did Tony? Did you catch up or no? You're still playing catch up.
I watched most of this episode.
Okay.
I watched the whole them going to the hospital scene after getting completely annihilated at the end of last week's episode, and him wanting to try to patch things up and and head off to college. So I did watch it, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this episode just wasn't as good as the last couple that I need to catch up on, but I don't know. I kind of I wasn't wowed really by anything that was going on in this week, and then everybody that I talk to says the same thing. Oh, you got to watch Invincible. It's so great and whatever. And so I said, all right, I was just going to catch up on, I'm just going to watch this episode and then kind of catch up, over the weekend on the other stuff that I missed out on. And I was like, I don't know, man, it's just not grabbing me.
This is not the episode to grab somebody. I think this is definitely the weakest episode of Invincible by far. Mm-hmm. That was my take. I thought the other 5 were pretty strong, especially when I know I went back and I rewatched episode 2 and 3, because I think when I was watching them, it wasn't because of the show itself. I was kind of just tired and fading in and out, so I missed a good amount. So when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, okay. In context, this is pretty awesome. I take back any kind of weird feelings I had about it. So my thing was that you set up Titan last week, and the whole big reveal at the end, and there was no mention of him at all in this episode. They just didn't follow up on it. I thought that was very weird. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of bizarre. And he goes ahead, pretty much Mark takes Amber on a trip to go visit his best friends, Mark's best friends. He likes some dude that's out of college and stuff, so they go there and they check it out. And you can see Mark really wants to go there, and apparently he wants to take Amber there, and their idea is to go to school there eventually. And he does get to that in the episode. But the big crazy thing, though, is that doctor who's experimenting on people and doing wacky cyborg type experiments to them.
Yeah, he's like a mad scientist.
Yeah, underground and in the school and stuff like that. And apparently the dude that I can't remember Mark's best friend's name, but the guy goes ahead and he the guy he went to see.
Is it William?
Yeah,
I think it's William.
So the guy he goes to see ends up putting part of these experiments, and obviously it's a heartbreaking moment. It's pretty messed up because what the guy does disfigures people and rips off part of their arms and puts a hook on it and some crazy shit. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. And then I thought Eve's story in this was very strange. She just went out into the wilderness.
Yeah, and took off it made a tree house, and I'm what the fuck is she doing?
I'm hoping it pays off. I did not read the comics of Invincible, so I'm going in fresh with this completely. I'm trying purposely to not read into the source material, and I just want to take the show for what it is. I did the same thing with The Boys because I don't want to do the side-by-side comparison for this. So there's that.
I wasn't wowed by the whole thing. I will say that there's actually a really cool feature that I just realized on Amazon.
X-ray?
Was that when you if you click on if you watch, I was watching on my phone, and if you click on it, whatever scene you're in, it gives you the characters that are in that scene.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it gives you the actors. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's fucking great, because if you're like, wait, who is that? And you hit the screen, it'll tell you exactly where they are.
Yeah.
That's a great feature for Amazon. So I give them credit for that. I was impressed by that.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this episode, I thought the most interesting thing was Debbie confronting Omni-Man.
Agreed. That's about, That's the part that I actually enjoyed. You know, I've not been big on this show from the beginning, but I did like Debbie confronting Omni-Man, and I thought the scene where Omni-Man shows up with the beer to his tailor,
With Art.
I thought that was a super cool scene because you think he's coming there to destroy this guy. Right,
Yeah.
you've seen what this. I mean, he's kind of sociopathic.
So did he.
I mean, so did he. Exactly.
You saw that look on his face, like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they have that nice moment, and like, you know, they both know what's going on. I think, and then when Omni-Man comes home and Deb is drunk, and she's like, "You killed all the, you know, the not Justice League. I forget what they're called.
Guardians of the Globe.
Guardians of the Globe. You killed the Guardians," and he just keeps going. "You're drunk, Deb. You're drunk. Go to bed." And then like, but I thought that was cool because you actually see him wrestling with, okay, like because my theory is like his species is not there. Like they don't send people out to protect people. They send them out to set up colonization.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And so, like, I think here we're actually seeing him be torn between his duties to his people and the duty to the people in his life that he's kind of you know, got around him. And I thought those moments were interesting, but there just was so few of them.
Yeah,
well,
no, it's true.
And I also kind of feel like, you know, like Mark, you know, of the few episodes that I've seen, that Mark wanted nothing more than to have his powers and to become a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And then meanwhile, now it seems like he craves just a regular teenage life where he can go away to college and hang out with his girlfriend and, you know, kind of be away from everything. So I feel like that's kind of an interesting turn also from him.
Yeah, because he's also like it's Viltrumite and everything like that. So I think I agree, Jason. I think there's definitely something weird going on with that species and everything like that, and the way that they're you know, protecting planets and things like that. I think it is a load of shit. And then it's going to come down to Omni-Man and Invincible are probably going to have to like go at it at some point. So we'll I don't know where you get that this season or that's what it's building up to ultimately. I'm not sure.
And I think I figured out what they're doing with the cloning machine. I think they took a little bit of Invincible and they're trying to clone their own Viltrumite. Okay. Because because the guy with the scar, the guy who's in charge, he had said like, well, we have to figure out why Omni-Man. He did it a couple episodes ago. Why Omni-Man would kill them all, and how do we stop him when we have to? And so I think that's where the cloning thing is going.
And I also think though that those people are like they're so into Invincible, and they keep saying that, stressing how much they need him. They're going to need him. I think they're going to need him to try, so at least they have something to try to stop Omni-Man if they need to, because I think they are in ways, you know, thankful for him, but also petrified of the guy as well.
Of course.
So, all right, yeah. Now, and before we move on, though, that there's a post-credit scene though in Invincible this week, with the two teens digging up Immortal's grave. Immortal was a member of the Guardians of the Globe. To drink from it, his skull or some shit like that, and that they would gain his powers. They're believing something like that. I'm curious to see where the hell that's going to end up.
Yeah, and then the twins.
Yes.
I forget. I'm terrible with names.
The Mauler twins.
The Mauler twins show up, and so I guess like, and they're like, oh, an insurance policy or something. So they're planning something. Who knows what? But
no, they are pretty funny. Those two. It's
they're them and Omni-Man are my two favorite parts of the show. Nice.
All right, so let's do our deep dive. It's MCU time.
All right.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 5. There was a lot of hype going into this one. You know, the writers and they had claimed that they felt this was their best episode and everything like that. I thought it was an excellent episode. There's a lot of stuff, and I can see why they felt, you know, this was their best work of the season. I also felt episode 4 was very strong as well. And they are, like, to me, heading in strong into the season finale, which, you know, Marvel typically sticks the landing on these things. So and it's set up for like a really crazy bananas, you know, finale this Friday. So I guess let's hit on our highlights and let's get into the discussion part of it. So the first scene that opens up the show picks up from at the end of the last one, where Walker is running off, you know, sent after him, just killing this dude with a shield. And he runs into like this abandoned warehouse, and he's gathering his thoughts and stuff like that. And you can see he's going through a lot of things that Hoskins said to him. But then Sam and Bucky catch up to him, and my favorite fight of the entire series, for sure. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I thought it was a phenomenal battle between the three of them. It was crazy.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could. I honestly, the scene when Walker shows up in the hotel room was so goddamn good in episode 4. I was like watching that. I'm like, I don't know if we can get any better than this. Well, they figured it out because this one was even better.
Yeah, it was really some shit. But like, so Bucky and and Sam, they just confront Walker. Pretty much, and he's like, they mentioned the shield to turn it over, and he's like, oh, so this is what it's about. And then, do you really want to go there? And then Bucky's like, yeah, actually, we do. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then they get into the fight. There's a lot of cool shit going on. And Walker ends up ripping off Sam's wings. Like, just bang, right there. That awesome moment.
Such an awesome moment. I literally was like,
I was
wings off.
Yep.
I did not think it was going to go down like that. So he goes ahead and rips him off, and essentially they reclaim the shield. But in that moment too, I think it was like right before he rips the wings off, though. Like he's like Walker has the shield, and you can see he's like really losing it, and he's like, I am Captain America, and that whole visual with him doing that to Sam, like it looks like he was going to try to take him out with the damn shield too. Like this is his finishing move, apparently, is killing people with the damn shield.
I got that same thing. I was like, oh my God, he's gone insane. He's gonna just bludgeon Sam to death if he gets the chance. Like, and that's different because it's different when you fight when they fight the villains. They're going for blood. But like this guy, and look, we knew where this guy was going, but see him make that turn where he wasn't that before. And yes, he did just murder someone, but he technically murdered a bad guy, and it's not right, but like you could make the case. But like for him to actually get this murderous look and almost try to take out one of the Avengers, that to me sort of flips his character in such a way where it's like, okay, you are beyond redemption at this point.
I look at it as it's it kind of goes back to the point that I made last week with with that whole with that everything that Dr. Erskine had told Steve before he went through the super serum transformation, that it intensifies whatever's inside of you, and every time that John Walker says I am Captain America, I feel like he's trying to convince himself that he's Captain America. And that's what I think at this point he's what's driving him is that insecurity that he's not, that I'm not Steve Rogers and no one is ever going to see me as Steve Rogers. So every time he says I am Captain America, it's that I feel like he's trying to convince not only the person he's talking to, but even himself that he actually is Captain America. And Bucky and Sam forcibly took that shield away from him, and I don't know what he thought was going to happen at that point, but there was no way that they were going to allow him to continue like that. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that the way that he took out I forget the guy's name, that the flag smasher that he ended up taking out, but he did it. What was that? I can't remember his name. But anyway, he took it out by putting the shield over his head and coming down. That's the same motion and the same thing that happened at the end of Civil War when Tony and Steve were fighting. And the only way that he can disarm Tony was to crack the arc reactor that was in Iron Man's suit, right? And he could have killed him. Okay, at that point, he definitely could have killed him. He didn't, and that's the difference between Steve. And then that scene, moving on from that, if you remember correctly, Tony stood up and said, that doesn't belong to you. You don't deserve to have that shield. And he willingly gave it up. Whereas here's John Walker, who just did something infinitely worse than what happened in Civil War, and he won't give up the shield. And there's Steve, who feels guilty for what happened and feels bad for what happened in that situation, and he voluntarily leaves it there and doesn't get it back for 7 years. So it's just the I feel like the tale that they're telling is to show you the difference between Steve Rogers and John Walker, and you're seeing it more and more in every episode that Walker is not him.
Yeah, and I feel like they've definitely set up this whole, to use a wrestling term, a heel turn. I thought they've done a phenomenal job of building that up since the moment that John Walker is officially introduced on Good Morning America way back in the beginning of episode 2. Like if you follow the show and you follow John Walker's arc, it perfectly makes sense, and this is completely earned that he would lead down this path. And again, taking out the whole knowledge of U.S. agent and all of that, I'm just saying, like, the show itself has definitely, put that through line there very, very clearly.
Oh, absolutely.
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 They spelled it out.
Can I ask either one of you, did it go over your head who he is? Who Wyatt Russell really is, who he is?
As in, like, that he's Kurt Russell's son?
Yeah, I had no idea.
No, I knew
I had no idea that was that's him and Goldie Hawn's son. I had no idea.
I knew it since 22 Jump Street. That's actually the first time I recall seeing Wyatt Russell. And I was like, wow. And I looked up who was this guy or whatever. He's actually pretty funny.
But it was it was later in the episode when he was sitting on the bench talking to his wife after the court martial, and I looked at his face and I'm like, God, he looks a lot like Kurt Russell. And I looked him up and I'm like, son of a bitch, that is Kurt Russell's kid. I had no idea. I really had no idea.
There's been a lot of talk recently too that because they're supposedly, and it's been going on for a while, there's going to be a remake of Escape from New York, and they were supposedly maybe approached him about it, and he was like, "No, I'm not doing it.
No can do.
No,
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
No, not at all.
Nope.
You don't want to. You don't want to live under your father's shadow for the rest of your life.
Not in that role. No way. Oh.
So after that, though, they reclaim the shield. Walker's taken away, but then when Torres shows up later and he's talking with Sam after the whole thing, and Torres asks Sam about what happened here. He essentially doesn't really give him too much of an answer, but then he asks him about the wings, and Sam tells him to keep them. For those who may not be aware, in the comics, though, Torres does succeed Sam, as the Falcon. Once he becomes Captain America. So I thought that was a really cool thing to set up and be there. Easter egg to plan in it. I'm sure they'll probably follow up on it, but because they've actually spent a lot of time establishing the relationship. In some ways, kind of reminds me of Sam and Steve, and now you have him like passing it on. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then Sam heads over to Baltimore and has a conversation with Isaiah Bradley, which was a really, really deep conversation and deals with a lot of stuff. But knowing, and then you can kind of see where Isaiah is coming from with his experience, and they've laid it out there, even within the MCU, that, the guy pretty much was essentially Captain America, went ahead when he tells his story, like in more detail. I went ahead, I tried to save my battalion and stuff like that, and a lot of them didn't live. Very similar to what Steve did in the first Avenger. He went ahead and saved Bucky and his battalion too. So you can see the parallels there too. But unfortunately, Isaiah was locked in prison for, I think they said 30 years at this point, or more. No, it was more. Yeah.
And you find out like they're not even giving him his mail from his wife. Like his wife is writing him letters, and like they're treating this guy like he's like he's a Hannibal Lecter type.
Exactly. It's pretty nuts, and they obviously experimented on him forever because, again, the whole world and in Marvel Comics themselves and in the MCU, it's all about replicating the super soldier serum. That's what Bruce Banner was doing too, trying to replicate the super soldier serum, and that went awry and Gamma and a completely different thing. But it's just the U.S. government was no different. They were trying to build more soldiers and things like that. So you can kind of see why Isaiah is pretty pissed off about it and has a lot of resentment towards the situation. But you can see and by the end of that conversation, though, that Sam has dealt with a lot of things. Like he's thinking, man, and he's like, I don't want to end up kind of like Isaiah. And he tells him, like, listen, they're not going to, because you could tell Sam was like, I got the shield. I'm thinking about going forward and being Captain America. And he's having reservations about this. Like, maybe this is not the path I would need to choose. I need to really sit down and think about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely he realizes the burden that this is going to carry. But I think as he's sitting there listening to Isaiah, he realizes that Isaiah's problem is that he he was under the thumb of this regime of whoever was in charge during that time because they were desperate. They were injecting people. They were dying. You heard as Isaiah say it. They were dying off. They couldn't figure out why he lived and everybody else died. And I think that's the and I think Sam realizes that. But I think what hits home with him is that no self-respecting black man would ever become Captain America. And I think that hit him. And that's really the kind of thing that had to digest with him, and that's the reason why he had to go home and see his family and kind of just clear his head and reconnect with them and get his head straight. And I think that scene was really, really well done. Really, really well done.
And I think it really accents a theme that's going in throughout the entire show is the disillusionment with Captain America, right? Like not with Steve Rogers. Everyone says Steve Rogers was fucking aces. We love Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing with US Agent putting on the Captain America outfit and then going rogue and going crazy. And we had this conversation with the Flag Smashers, right? The two leads of the Flag Smashers of, I used to look up to Captain America, but maybe that's not the hero America needs anymore, right? Maybe that's and so I think Isaiah's story really hits home that disillusionment with the whole image and symbolism of Captain America and what the character really does represent or should represent. And I'm sure that's where they're going with this, right? Because when he becomes Captain America, he's going to have to become his own Captain America. Exactly. He's going to have to, and I think that's what this is sort of, laying the groundwork for.
Absolutely. And they keep mentioning it's the Shield. They keep mentioning the Shield. They don't keep mentioning Captain America because they're not going to disparage him because of obviously what happened at the end of Endgame, but it's the Shield that they keep saying that's the symbol. The Shield should be destroyed. That's the symbol of the whole of this whole thing. And that's what they keep trying to drive home. That it's not a Steve Rogers thing. It is a symbol, the symbolistic portion of what Captain America stands for.
Yeah, and essentially what we're going to learn, and I do think the overall theme of the show is going to be Captain America is more than just something that the government, a mascot, if you want to say, like Sam's sister mentions. It's more than just putting any dude in a suit as a mascot to say, hey, like kind of like the USO version of what.
That's what they originally wanted him to be, right?
Yeah.
That's what they wanted him to be.
And that's not it. When you're actually legitimately Captain America, you need to be that good man that Erskine talked about, that Steve was, and that Sam is.
Exactly.
So it's more at the heart of it than just a suit and a title. Mm-hmm. But we'll I'm sure they're going to get to that. So then, pretty much, Sam goes at it. He moves on from that. He goes home, like you had mentioned. And while he's doing that, though, we see Bucky tracks down Zemo in
which
Sokovia.
I think is the best scene in this episode. That scene with him and Zemo at the Sokovia memorial. That scene is phenomenal.
Yeah, so he goes ahead and he Bucky's telling him. They have this whole conversation. Bucky takes out a gun, pretty much clocks it back, and it's empty. And he pretty much, shows him, he kind of like lets him off the, he's not going to kill him. But then Adora Milaje is there to scoop him up, and they're taking him off to the raft. They're not taking him back to Wakanda.
Yep.
They're taking him to the raft. And if you remember, the raft was seen in Civil War. I know you guys remember, but seen in Civil War where the people who did not sign the Sokovia Accords were taken. And it's a prison for superpowered people. It's also brought up in the second season of Jessica Jones, where they're talking about, actually Jessica talks about taking her mother there because her mother is superpowered like her.
Oh, right.
So that I thought was a really cool tie-in to the Netflix part of the MCU, which we are still waiting to see if actually is intact or not intact. But that's another story for another time. Exactly. But do you guys? So 2 questions, I guess I got for you guys about the scene. If this is the last we see of Zemo,
I don't think
is this satisfying? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm playing the card. I'm laying it out right now. No, and I agree with you. I do not think it is. But let's say this is the last we see of Zemo. Would you feel this is a bit underwhelming in this series?
I know. I loved him. I loved everything that he did in the series. I thought he was great. And I meant
in terms of his impact. His fate. No, his fate at the end of it. The way that they wrapped up Zemo. Zemo was obviously tremendous throughout the show.
Right.
He's a huge part of it. But do you think this is a great fate for Zemo to just be locked away in the raft and that's the end of him?
I think that I do, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like they've set it up that he's not done. And I don't, I know that they look at him. I know the Wakandans look at him as if he is, he's a murderer and he's a criminal and whatnot or whatever. But I think Sam and Bucky now have realized that he's an asset. And he did exactly what they promised him that what they broke him out. He did exactly what they asked him to do. Nothing more. The only thing that he did that was kind of off the reservation, but what needed to be done is when he killed, that was, that might be the greatest thing of the entire show. But the only thing that he did that was a little off the reservation, but really was the right thing, was when he killed the doctor.
Yeah.
Like that was the only thing that he got. And they were like, well, what did you do that for? But and what did he say to them? It needed to be done. And they didn't argue with him because they knew that he did need to go. So I honestly think that this sets up the fact that he can come back at some point and do something else within this thing. I don't think we're going to see him at the end of the show. If he's going to the raft, he's not getting away from them, and he's going to the raft. But I think this sets up something down the road in the MCU for Zemo to come back and be a help at some point or another. And I love the exchange between him and Bucky at the end, where he says, "I crossed my name out of your book."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
that was
awesome. That
was awesome.
It really was so well done. Take care of yourself, James. Like it was really, really
no
well
hard
done.
feelings. Essentially,
yeah,
exactly. It was basically like we're square.
Yeah,
we're square. Thank you, and that was it. I thought it was really well done.
I actually I think that it wasn't. I don't want to use the word anticlimactic because I don't think it was anticlimactic, but I don't think it was it wasn't the punch everyone expected. Like, okay, Zemo's going out, but that's what I liked about it. Like, he knew he was caught. He wasn't even trying to run.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, he went to the memorial. He knew they were going to look.
He told him he was going to go there. Like basically told him.
That's it. So it's like what I liked about it was he kind of accepts his fate. And the thing is, he did what he set out to do, right? He killed the one person who could make super soldier serum. He destroyed all but one vial, and he didn't know that one vial existed. Mm-hmm. I don't think he knows that John Walker took the serum.
No, he was knocked out.
So And Steve Rogers in his mind is dead. He doesn't know about Isaiah, and he makes a point of telling Bucky, I decided that I don't want to kill you. So in his mind, he's done what he has to do. And so that's kind of why I liked it, because he didn't fight. He didn't argue. He wasn't trying to escape. It was just kind of like, I did what I had to do. No hard feelings. All right, I'm going to go with Dora Milaje and just see, face my fate like a man. And, or with, I don't want to say that's sexist, but face my fate with, with some bravery and with some honor. And I thought that was a really good choice for the character, because I think this incarnation of Zemo does have this twisted honor. He does have he will do what he says he's going to do, right? And he said he was going to rid the world of the super soldier serum. In his head, he did it, and so now he is fine to take his licks and go back to where he has to go back to. And so I thought it fit the character.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one popular theory that's been popping around online, and it's funny. Rick actually is commenting and chiming in on it. Perfect time there, buddy. Is Zemo perhaps he wanted to end up in a raft, or perhaps he's exactly where he wants to be again, and to potentially recruit a team of the Thunderbolts, which is in the comic books is a team of essentially various villains and darker heroes that are put together. And if you're going to go to a place where you would find those types, the raft is probably full of them. Mm-hmm. So that is one theory that is being thrown out there and floated around there. I'm not exactly sure how I personally feel about it. I mean, I would say it's definitely a possibility. Another possibility, though, is that Zemo has connections. He is a Baron. That's been established. Mm-hmm. What if we find out in the next episode, in episode 6, that he is intercepted and never makes it to the raft and is busted out?
Possible.
And could be something else. Maybe the power broker.
Could be.
Or there's another theory for the power broker, which we'll get to in about a scene or two, but we'll discuss that. So all right. So where we at here? So Sam's no, blah blah blah. So Bucky goes ahead and meets up with Sam in Louisiana, and ends up having this pretty funny scene where he's like flirting with his sister, which I thought was hilarious. And you can see
That
Sam's
was great.
face is like anyone but you. And just no, not you. Pretty much says to back off and things like that. So we get more of the like Lethal Weapon type banter and stuff, which I thought was actually really cool.
And we get a fixing the boat montage, right?
Yes, we do. We get a couple of montages. We get a training montage soon.
We do. That was exciting.
But Sam and Bucky then shows them training with the Shield, and then Sam has a conversation with Bucky I thought was very important, where he tells him essentially to be his own man. Enough with this, like, the book or living up to things, or like looking at the Shield as a connection to Steve and things like that. Sentimental wise, that's one thing, but it's almost like Bucky needs it. He almost needs that to like rescue him and stuff like that. And Sam pretty much tells him, going back to his like counseling veterans type background that we saw back in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, telling him like, Bucky, you got to be your own guy. You got to kind of like find your own path and carve your own way about that. I thought that was a very, very powerful moment as well for Bucky's journey.
Yeah, and then Bucky also revealing in that same conversation that when Steve and I had this when Steve and I discussed this, we never took into consideration what it would mean for a black man to be Captain America. He goes and he apologized to him for that, which was amazing. But I mean, that was a great point. And we talked about it early on in this season, and we talked about it. Well, we talked about it amongst ourselves when we talked about Endgame. Was that did Bucky and Steve have a conversation before Steve went back?
They confirm it.
And it's confirmed. It also seems to be confirmed during that same conversation where Bucky says Steve is gone. Now, that's pretty definitive that Steve is gone. Like, gone.
I might have to confess that, yes, watching this scene and hearing that the way it was presented, I may have to change my stance on do I think Steve is actually dead or not. I know a couple episodes ago I said I still think he is kind of retired and off and doing whatever he's doing. I don't know what maybe he's at bingo halls or something like that. I don't really know. Or maybe he's hanging out at the VFW. I mean, who the heck knows? Maybe he's like Norman Cheers at a VFW somewhere. I don't really know. But yeah, I got to admit, I kind of flipped the script on that, and I think they're kind of just subtly saying that he's moved on. Yeah, that he's passed away.
And I think that, and it makes all the sense in the world, because if you think about it, his wife is gone, the love of his life is gone. He's got to live his life the way he wanted to, and really the only reason he had to live at that point was to pass that shield on to Sam.
Yeah,
and that was really it. I mean, he had no other purpose in life at that point. His love of his life is gone. His shield is passed. He got to see his friend for the last time. So yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense that is the end of his arc. The end of his arc is an Endgame, and then that's the end of it. To bring him back even for a moment as an old man, I think would cheapen the whole scene there at the lake with him seeing Sam and giving him the shield and so on and so forth. That's it. The arc ends right here, and that's it. If you do see Steve, if the rumors are true, or if something is in the works that Chris Evans comes back at some point or another somewhere along the lines, it will be as young Steve Rogers, not as that old man when he,
or an alternate reality.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's my point. That's my point. It won't be, or I've told you all the time, I would love for them to make the movie of him putting all the stones back. I would love to see that movie. I would love it.
I want that to be a Disney Plus like miniseries. One episode for each stone, and make them only like 15-minute episodes.
Bro, get Faraci on the phone, man. We gotta write this shit up, and we gotta get us a meeting with Feige. We need a meeting with Feige.
I also want to see the Captain America show where we just get to see his daily life after he's living with Peggy Carter. No superhero stuff. He's just like getting the mail and food shopping and cooking dinner, and that's it. That's the whole show. Just watching Captain America Steve Rogers do chores. you know that you would both watch it, and we would cover it on this show.
Oh, absolutely,
absolutely. Steve cut the lawn in this episode, and he finished in 11 seconds.
We see what he can do in like breaking down tree trunks and things like that. So
that's right.
Firewood.
That's right.
He's very good at firewood. If you need firewood, he's a guy to have around. So
no, he's definitely the guy. All right, so then we also see though that Bucky does give Sam something, because he tells also the Wakanda. He tells the Dora Milaje, like, hey, listen, I'm gonna need a favor from you. Right after when they'd taken Zemo off, and apparently he called in that favor.
Yep,
in a suitcase that he gives to Sam.
Yes,
now,
he does.
We'll chime more into that into the final scene of the episode, the not mid-credit scene, but the final scene of it. So we all know where I'm pretty sure we all agree with that, where that's obviously headed, and can't wait to see it.
Of course,
it's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah,
it might even look like somebody's T-shirt that's on his show right now. I mean, who knows? But so I think we also get to see a very, very huge moment though when Walker is in on trial, and he's basically find out he's getting stripped of his title of captain and Captain America, forced to retire, losing his benefits, pretty much lost everything, and obviously deservedly so. That happens when you're
not honorably discharged. That's
exactly
that's the worst of the worst.
Yep,
all gone. He's lost everything now. And then they show him outside of it, though. And by the way, he storms off, and they're just saying, hey, listen, if you hold, what is it, like if you disrespect the place, because he tells them that he is Captain America, and the guy's like, not anymore.
Yeah.
Furthering the whole thing, though, of his obsession with being Captain America. So it
he's lost it.
Yeah, he's still gone with that, and it is obsessed. He's obsessed with that mantle. But then he goes ahead and he meets a very important character who turns out to be the cameo. So they delivered on the cameo in this episode.
Yes, they did.
So unlike the WandaVision, the cameo was delivered. Something I didn't see. Julia Louis-Dreyfus shows up as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Now, if you're not familiar with that, and I know they cut it down to Val, and she makes a whole great thing that's there, because she even says, I got the quote here. She introduces herself as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Actually, it's Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I know it's hard, but I don't like to repeat myself, so you can just call me Val. But don't call me Val. Just keep it in your head. So for people who aren't, by the way, she owns that scene. She just walks in. I love her from Seinfeld.
I do too.
Like phenomenal. Even when her days on SNL and things like that, she can show up in anything, and I'm happy.
She's hysterical.
But she, for a little quick background in the comics, though, she has worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. She's worked with Hydra. She's even held the mantle of Madam Hydra in the Marvel comics. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with the MCU. I have a feeling they might change it.
I have a feeling I know where they're going with this.
But then there's one theory, though, because she gives him a blank business card and pretty much says, I'm going to call you when needed. So kind of just answer when I do call, and there's nothing on it. Is she recruiting, or is she trying to assemble the Dark Avengers? That is another possibility. That is pretty much in the comic books. It's Norman Osborn that does that, and I actually read the Dark Avengers run, the initial one, and it's completely bonkers. Where Norman Osborn essentially, everyone goes ahead and says, "Hey, listen," he essentially saves the Marvel Universe from the Secret Invasion. And he goes ahead and he's portrayed as like he comes up with Hammer and his whole thing, and it's instead of S.H.I.E.L.D., he has his own organization. He essentially Tony Stark was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. at that point. He gets shit canned because the world is like, well, Norman Osborn's the apparently billionaire philanthropist that we need, and they give it to him. He assembles his own Avengers team and makes himself Iron Man, and he's actually the Iron Patriot in the Dark Avengers. He gets Dakin to play the Wolverine character, who is Wolverine, for if you're not familiar, is Wolverine's like evil son that's in the comics. He ends up getting Bullseye to be the new Hawkeye. He gets Venom to be Spider-Man. It's really, really batshit crazy.
That sounds insane.
It's completely insane. So I just wonder if that's the route they're going to go. Tony, you said you have a theory on where do you think she's going to play a role in.
Yeah, so it came out later in the week, obviously after we watched it, that that she was originally supposed to make her appearance in Black Widow, which we know right off the bat is going to take place in Europe. Red Guardian, the new Black Widow, eventually, who it's going to be is Yelena Svetova, I think, is going to become the new Black Widow now that that Natasha Romanoff is gone. And I think that I think the agency that she's going to end up working for is Leviathan, which is a Russian terrorist organization, and that's where Val is going to come. And I think that's where the whole U.S. agent thing is going to come in for John Walker. That's just me, based upon piecing. Again, we know that Marvel takes this piece of comic, that piece of comic, whatever, and that's where they mold their story. The Leviathan thing, they gave it away at this point by saying that she was supposed to debut in Black Widow, that's where she was going to be. To me, knowing that it's going to be taking place in in Russia, Slovakia, whatever, and knowing that she's going to be there and that she's going to be in that movie, Leviathan makes the most sense for where this where this is going with her.
So, which I'm kind of curious though too, because I mean, if your theory does pan out, that means Leviathan would have never went away, because those of you who did watch Agent Carter know that Leviathan existed in the prior to S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. So that was something that they did tap into. So there is an existence in the MCU because
this character was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, no. Well, the Madam Hydra character was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but under a different person that held the Madam Hydra, not exactly Val at all. It was someone else who took up the mantle of Madam Hydra, but in Agent Carter, so back at her time, and that's pre, the existence of S.H.I.E.L.D., she didn't form S.H.I.E.L.D. yet,
right?
Was, they did use Leviathan back then, and there was the Black Widow program that was in existence at that time, so that would be an interesting way if they continue that. So it's not only like Hydra was the one that still managed to exist, but Leviathan continued to survive the entire time. So I think that would be pretty interesting if they did go that route. So the next scene that's there is Walker visits Lamar's family, because it's pretty much what he has to do, and they have a heartfelt conversation. Walker also lies his ass off and says that he kills the guy that killed Lamar, which he knows
is not the case.
Yeah,
exactly. So he's gone full, like, he's way out there right now. Like, he's just gone. He's just like, listen, I have my mission. I have to be Captain America. That's it. But they does show, though, that like there's people who care for Walker. So maybe he wasn't always the guy that he ended up being, but obviously he's gone down this path, and crazy's crazy at this point. And then we see the Flag Smashers in New York City, planning, to attack the GRC. And you can see they're getting ready. And then Carly Morgenthau is explaining her whole thing, and she's talking about this. And you can kind of see, though, she's kind of going too, because they've been branded, terrorist. And then she recruits Batroc again, who we saw in episode 1, and we saw her in, played by George St. Pierre.
George St. Pierre.
Love his character. Love the fact he keeps on reoccurring and popping up, and can't get rid of him. But he pretty much says, listen, I'm not here for your movement. I'm here to kill the Falcon. But the most interesting thing about this, and I will say that this was not something so apparently somebody put together some pieces online that the scene where Sharon is talking to someone and saying, listen, I'm going to pay you double this time, I'm going to do this. It is actually, I'm going to pay you, double for doing this. It is confirmed that she's talking to Batroc. And the way that was uncovered is because they went ahead and it was like some sort of like translation for, I think it may have been like the Italian version or the like some other language version. So it is confirmed that that's why he's there. That's how he's got that gear and that equipment for Carly. So that leads you to believe, though, if Sharon is talking to Batroc, Batroc is bringing them the weapons. Is she does that confirm the power broker is behind this whole thing, and like maybe there's a ruse going on here?
That's interesting. It
is interesting.
It is extremely, and I saw that, I was like, wait, what? And I had to like make sure that this isn't we got this covered type shit, and it's not. It's like legitimate. I'm not going to pretend I went ahead and watched the Italian version of the show and tried to uncover this crap.
No, I would. I would give you a lot of credit
if you did.
If you did that, I would give you a lot of credit for that.
I wish I spoke Italian. and then I can actually understand it. So my theory on this though is that is she working with Sam? Is she trying to help Sam and Bucky out, and maybe like paid off Batroc because he's a mercenary for hire to help them team up against the Flag Smashers, and maybe the whole "I'm here to kill the Falcon" is bullshit. So maybe Batroc is doing working with Sharon to help out, or is Sharon the power broker behind this and is actually nefarious and is funding the Flag Smashers as well? Has she completely gone over the deep end?
I wouldn't be surprised if she was the power broker, to be honest, because they've really set her up as being someone who is, cut loose, forgotten about. Everyone else got their pardons. Everyone else got to go home after, what was it, Winter Soldier, right? That was where, right?
No,
or was it so? It was Winter Soldier, right?
It was pretty much after.
That was the end of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, she was in the shit for what happened in Civil War. For assisting getting the shield. Remember, she says, "I stole the shield for you. I got your wings." It was that scene. It was like 2 scenes.
Civil War.
Ago.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
She goes to them and is like, "Wait a second. I stole the wings to help you, to save him, to get him away from him." And then the three of them are standing there, like, "Yeah, she's right. Okay, this is weird. That's weird."
So she's pretty much everyone after Civil War gets their pardons. They get, Paul Rudd gets a slap on the wrist and serves his time at home and has his own movie and fun. And she's cut loose. Everyone forgets about her. I mean, even Sam forgets about her until they run into her.
Yeah.
So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they're setting up that she is the power broker or is somehow involved in what's going on, simply because they have already established that, she's very disenfranchised. Again, the disenfranchisement with the United States, disenfranchisement with the Captain America, symbol. I think they have sort of laid some groundwork where she might be feeling that, or she is feeling that she's been forgotten. I would not be surprised if she winds up being the power broker.
Yeah, I kind of think that's where they're painting. But I'm also kind of curious to know, do you think she's working with, do you think this whole thing with Batroc is to try to take down the Flag Smashers, or do you legitimately think she's working with the Flag Smashers and she's bad and she's trying to like go against Sam and Bucky?
I don't.
Tony, what do you think?
I don't think so. Only because of who her aunt was and what that meant to her. You heard her, at her funeral when she gave the eulogy, and I mean, she went out on a limb, stealing the shield and the wings and so on and so forth. So I can't picture her doing that. I mean, I think it's one of these classic Marvel setups where you think it's going one way and it's going to end up going another way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see her doing that just because of who her mother was. I can't see it.
Also, if she wanted,
her aunt, not a mother.
Yeah.
If she wanted them dead, they'd be dead. I mean, she was key to how they escaped. That big fight where. So I don't think that she's trying to kill them or set them up, but I don't know what her motive is, to be honest. I don't want to say that I think that she's trying to help them because I just don't know. But I don't think she's trying to kill them at all.
Okay,
I agree.
So we get to the ending scene where Sam is he gets his information, he sees what's going on, and then he busts out the case that he got from Wakanda. And he pulls it up, and then all of a sudden, episode over. So we all agree. We think that's the. I think it's like a vibranium.
I do too.
Vibranium suit
definitely,
to essentially protect him and make him, and just make him even more unstoppable with that kind of thing. And I'm sure it'll, you see, he's been training. Sorry, we did gloss over. There isn't a scene where they show a training montage with Sam training with the shield, and you can see he's goofing up at one point. And he's getting, he's kind of missing it. He's dropping it, but then he's getting better. He's doing like flips and stuff. And there's a lot of running. Apparently he's into cardio. He's really into the running part of it, which is pretty cool. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Rocky Forest.
Winter Soldier too.
Go! Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. It's very Winter Soldiers because we see Sam is into the running and cardio and stuff like that. But during that, though, there's a really powerful moment where he sees like his nephews with the shield and their play fighting and things like that. And you kind of see Sam is thinking, like, he's thinking back on, while he's had conflicting thoughts after his conversation with Isaiah, is that what it means. Like, he's kind of feeling like he's getting more into, like, listen, I got to do my own thing. I got to be my own man. I know what Isaiah went through. I get his what all the stuff that, and he has every right to feel the way he feels, but he also sees the modern day version of what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In this, and I think you can kind of see it on his face, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to train with the Shield. I got my gear to go, and it's time to go ahead and and stop the Flag Smashers and be Captain America. Like take on everything, and now I'm ready, to do this.
Right.
Then in the mid-credit scene, though, we want to talk about, like, I know I just referenced Rocky 4, but we want to reference Rocky 3 style. It looked like there was a Clubber Lang moment where he's in a basement somewhere wielding his own shield in a really dark place there. I just wanted someone to walk up to him and, like, Walker, what's your prediction for your fight with them? Prediction? Yes, prediction. Pain. Yeah, he's wielding. He's putting together his own shield. He's spray painting it. He even puts like the metal on there, like the what was it, like the star that's there on it. Yeah. Like he's warped into like he's on his own thing. We're getting U.S. Agent, like actual U.S. Agent now, not just us calling him because we refuse to call John Walker Captain America because he keeps calling himself Captain America. So we're like, fuck you, we're not calling you Captain America.
That's right. No, but we are absolutely getting bona fide U.S. Agent here. Yeah. I'm all for it, and I thought that was a cool scene because I didn't see that coming. Like just him forging it, and you can tell, like, all right, this guy's off the reservation. This guy's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing else, that's it. I'm sorry.
I mean, no, they kicked him off the reservation. I mean, seriously, when they court-martialed him and they basically almost dishonorably discharged him, he's off the reservation. So now he's all on his own, and that's essentially U.S. Agent is, he's a one-man show at this point.
Yeah.
The funny part is that I'm watching him make the shield, and I'm like, dude, don't you know that shit ain't gonna work the same way as the one that you had earlier in the episode? Like,
right.
No,
you don't have access to vibranium.
Yeah,
buddy.
like I don't think you get that.
No, you can't just go to Home Depot and get yourself some vibranium.
Yeah, like you can't make Captain America's shield in your garage. Like that's just not gonna happen. Like what's wrong with you, bro?
He's gone, man. He is so far gone. It's crazy.
He done lost his shit, bro. I don't understand. Like he really from the beginning of the last episode till now, he has completely lost his shit. But it's all going to come back to the fact of is that it's the serum that's making it it's making it worse. We talked about exactly what Dr. Erskine said. It makes if you're good, it makes you great. If you're paranoid, it makes you fucking delusional, and that seems to be exactly what's going on here with Mr. Walker.
Yeah. So we'll see. We got the series. Well, I don't think it's going to be series finale. I'm going to say season finale next week.
I think this one is definitely getting more than one. Oh, yeah, I do too. But can I just also say that I think that Sebastian Stan has been outstanding in this series. I mean, he really has. I mean, Anthony Mackie has shown that he can carry himself and carry, scenes, carry a season. Like we all know how charismatic he is. We've seen him in other movies. We've seen him, as Sam Wilson, being Steve Rogers' sidekick and everything like that. But man, Sebastian Stan has been really, really good. I mean, really, really good. I almost like when he's not in a scene, I'm like, I want him in the scene. Like that's how much I've enjoyed him, and I love the relationship that the two of them have. I'm excited about these two characters going forward. I really am.
Yeah, me too. And like I said before, plenty of times on here, like this has been my most anticipated show. Going into it when the MCU shows were announced, and it's living up to the hype, and some for me personally. But I know I shared that meme of the the guy walking with the girl and then looks over his shoulder. Yes. We know that's totally us. We're gonna go ape shit for the season finale. We'll be happy, hopefully, but I'm confident we will. And then in June it'll be Loki time, and we'll be losing our shit.
Fawning all over. Look at what we were with WandaVision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a buddy who goes to see the Marvel movies with us and whatnot. And he said to me, he goes, I watched the first episode of WandaVision. I couldn't get into it. I'm like, bro, watch the first 3. If you can get through the first 3, you're gonna be golden. And I talked to him tonight. And he goes, I gave WandaVision a second chance. He goes, I absolutely loved it. So, you know, I mean, it was, you know, there was a real slow burn to that. In this show, it got off like that. It just kicked off immediately, and it's great. It's had you in from the whole thing. You know, I really, really enjoyed episode 5. I probably not as much as 4, only because I thought 4 was just excellent from start to finish. This one was a really good episode. I really, really enjoyed it. But I think 4 for me was my favorite episode so far.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. I can't wait to see where they go and they stick the landing on this one. But before we move on, though, Rick says Zemo will dance again.
Yes,
he will.
So we will actually get the whole thing again. You know, the whole spin. Yeah. If you didn't get a chance to watch the extended cut that
yes.
Marvel released, please
so
do.
Good.
I know. There's an hour-long version of it. There's an hour of him doing it. Yes, there is. It's bananas. It's taking us on its own life. And then Jader, what's up, dude? What's going on? Jader's getting ready for his show. They're jumping on right after us. They're going to be talking about 1995 Mortal Kombat, which should be a whole lot of fun. Yeah, and I can't wait for Mortal Kombat on Friday. Oh man, that's just. Whoa! All right, but let's not get sidetracked though. But also, Jader popping in with 6 episodes, no time to fuck around, dude.
Exactly right.
Yep, exactly.
You're 100% correct. I also, if his schedule allows it, I wouldn't be shocked to see Jader on next week's show when we cover the season finale of it, because he actually didn't get a chance to watch along with, but he binged it over the weekend and he reached out to me. He was like, dude, this is bananas. Like, this is totally bananas. Like, you were 100% right. It like lived up to it, man. It's crazy. So, yeah, we can't wait to talk about that one next week. But we got our movie of the week. We are continuing our jumping around of like giving some of the non-franchise superhero type flicks there, some love. Last week we did Dread, and hopefully you guys checked that out and enjoyed that as much as we did. But this next movie we're about to talk about is Hancock. It's the 2005 Peter Berg film with Will Smith and Charlize Theron and Jason Bateman. It's one that's it's not based on anything from comic source material, but it obviously fits the bill and the genre of it. Like, that's just what it is. Very comedy drama, I guess I would call it. Dramedy, I guess is a good thing. But Jason and Tony were super, super excited to talk about this when we were kicking around the idea of like, where do we go after the DCU for a little while before we jump into the inevitable MCU rewatch, which I know people on our page have been asking for. So we will get to that. But Hancock, I texted you guys earlier and I said I didn't know there was an unrated version of Hancock that I stumbled upon on Amazon Prime Video.
Yep.
There's no need for it at all.
No.
Just watch the theatrical one.
Yeah, that's the one that hit theaters in this case was definitely the better version.
Yeah, they're not everything can be the Snyder cut. Sometimes you just got the cut that makes the theater, and there's a reason for that. I think the runtime was only 10-minute difference.
It's
so
only a 10-minute difference. Yeah,
it wasn't that thing. I have to talk about this one scene before I pass it over to you guys. So early on in the film, there's a scene that was cut that's in the unrated version that is on Amazon Prime Video if you want to check it out. I don't recommend you do it, but you should. Just for like, if you got a couple of drinks in you and stuff and you just want to laugh or get angry, you can check out. But there's this one scene after the initial scene where Hancock saves the day and stuff like that, and he goes off and he's at a bar and he's drinking. And in the original version, was he in a bar after that? Because I don't remember that either.
I think he was, and
in a bar.
He's in a bar, right? But some old woman looks at him, and and he's just like, you don't want any of this. He says something like that, where he threatens her.
It's quick, right? It's a quick thing.
And then that's it.
But in the unrated version, though, it goes way further than that. He apparently meets a groupie, right? Who, it's just a weird conversation. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense. And he goes back and he's like, oh, I'm not going to fly you. Like, I guess people ask him to fly people around, and he's just over it. He's obviously over everything. He's just whatever. That's his character. But he goes ahead and he takes him back to his trailer where he has like 2 trailers put together, and he has sex with her. But there's a weird thing where he's like, listen, before I finish, I'm going to tell you, you need to get away from me. You need to just jump off or whatever. And, she looks like she's not taking it too seriously. And then they cut from an like exterior shot of the trailers. And, you see here like a commotion where she like jumps away, I guess, or whatever. And there's like holes through the roof of the trailer. And I guess they're just alluding that, he finished and busted and shit, and that was it. And that's it, though. So it was almost like you kind of were going for this crazy joke. It just kind of reminded me of like Scary Movie, if you saw that, where, the whole joke is like, the killer guy just like hasn't had any in a while and just goes everywhere and everything. I thought we were getting into some shit like that. But it's like this really poorly executed version of it.
It was awkward.
I don't know. It was awkward and stupid.
Awkward is probably, yeah. I mean, look, I applaud.
What the fuck?
I applaud the attempt. It was not a good one, but it was an attempt in itself. But I mean, if anybody wanted to make a joke about having sex with a superhero, Peter Berg took a stab at it.
It reminds me of like a conversation I had in 7th grade. Like, well, what happens when Superman and Lois Lane have sex? Like, isn't his sperm like super? Wouldn't it like kill her? Or like, it's like, but I was in 7th grade. I wasn't making a goddamn movie.
Yeah, I can see why the scene was cut, and I wish I didn't know it existed. Listen, I'll turn it over to you guys. I know you guys were super excited to talk about it, and I'll share my more of my thoughts on it. Jason, you want to go ahead? You want to start it?
Sure. I love this movie. I love this movie. I mean, you got Will Smith, and you guys, I've said this before. You can put Will Smith in a movie, I'm there. I love Will Smith. I think Charlize Theron is great. Jason Bateman, I think Jason Bateman and Will Smith are 2 of the most charming people in Hollywood. You put them together in a superhero movie. What's not to love? I love the idea of this just pretty much like depressed, angry, alcoholic like superhero who for whatever reason he's still drawn to help people, but he's as you said, he's so over, he doesn't care. Like the scene where he saves the day, like I forgot how much like he wrecks that highway. Like he hits the sign and it hits the cop cars and the cop cars topple and explode, and like he's doing way more damage than he's saving. Like and then he lands in the car and he's got the alcohol and they shoot the alcohol and that's what pisses him off, and so he just shoots up and grabs the car. Like I love the idea of what would it be like if a superhero was like this. But he's not a bad guy because he's not a bad guy
at all.
But also what I love about this movie is I think it really does it does more than people give it credit for. Like when you find out the twist, right? And spoilers for Hancock if anyone's listening who hasn't seen this 20-year-old movie or 15-year-old movie. Charlize Theron, Jason Bateman's wife, is also like Hancock, and they have a history. They used to be together, and they're the last of their kind. But like, if you look at this movie, Hancock wakes up in a hospital thinking he's the only one of his kind. He was such a bastard in his life that no one came to claim him. And like you can absolutely see why this man devolves into what he becomes in this movie, right? Because like what Charlize Theron does to him in this movie is really messed up. Like she lets him live all of these years thinking he's alone, thinking he's like there's no one else out there like him, that people just didn't care about him enough to claim him from his past life. And so I think psychologically it does some really interesting stuff with like the reaction to sort of trauma like that. So that's why I love this movie. I think it works on 2 levels. It works on the superhero level, and it works on a very smart, like this is like how you deal with trauma and get through trauma. Because the way he gets through this is sort of facing his past and coming to terms with who he is and realizing that, okay, I need to be better. And so I think what this movie does ultimately is very, very smart, and it is part of the reason I like it so much. So that's my overall sort of take on the
Okay, Tony.
I absolutely love this movie. There are so many great things about it. It's, you know, the Will Smith factor, obviously, just the way Jason said it is. It's so many great performances. Jason Bateman, as Ray is just he's that typical like I'm gonna fix this and it's a do-gooder kind of thing, and he plays it perfectly. And Charlize Theron as his wife, and apparently you know, the super being that you know, equal to Hancock. She's great, and you know, she's great in a comedic standpoint as well, because you know, they're in that scene where when Hancock figures out who she is,
movie. Yep.
and they're in the kitchen and everything, and he's like, you know, he's trying to do this and that or whatever, and he grabs those two pans and he's gonna like smash her head with the fucking pans, like dude, like this, the look on his face and her face, it was great. I mean, it was so great, and the performances of these three are you know, are excellent. It's not just a dumbass kind of, you know, movie where you can just go watch, you know, shit blow up and that's the end of it. There's a story behind this, you know, and getting back to what, you know, touching on the scene where, you know, where you were what you were talking about with her, when, you know, he thought he was here by himself, and you know, he says to her at one point, he says, "You chose to make me think that I was here alone." And she said, "I didn't think that you would miss what you forgot. I didn't think that you, what was it? I didn't think you'd miss what you didn't remember."
Yeah.
So she just kind of thought like, hey, he doesn't even know I exist. I'm just going to, she never thought about the mental toll that it was going to take. That here's this guy, he doesn't age, he doesn't die, he doesn't get hurt. He's just him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And for hundreds of years, he just is just him. So yeah, at some point or another, I mean, I think everybody at that point would drive them into madness. You know, there's nobody else for him around. There's no Avengers. There's no the Justice League or anything like that for him to be
Right.
in. So you could definitely see how that could weigh on somebody's mind. So I love the way that's portrayed, and Will Smith as a drunk is a fucking joy.
It's great.
All right, he's a fucking joy, bro. First of all, the scene where he saves Jason Bateman from on the train tracks, that shit is hilarious. He busts the fucking train up, which is hilarious, right? Yeah, he moves the car, he breaks up the train, and now he's arguing with people that get out of their cars. You know, and one guy says to him, "That woman could have been killed. She should sue you." He's like, "Yeah," and they're all saying, "Yeah," and he's like, "Man," he says, "you should sue McDonald's because they fucked you up."
That was great. That was actually really funny.
And then someone says, like, you know, she's like, "I can smell liquor on your breath." He goes, "That's because I've been drinking, bitch."
Yeah, he's like, well, "I've been drinking." That's actually pretty great. That is
he's got this great moment too where they're yelling at him, insulting him, and he's just like, because you know he's done this before. He's just like,
"Yeah, come on, let it go, keep it up, right?" And it's typical. You have very sensitive Californian type people, you know, and they're hounding him, and he's just like, you know, "Look, I just saved this dude's life. Go fuck yourself. I left him there," you know, like, oh my god. And that's the part where Ray is trying to school him. It's like, look, you can do these things, but take in mind just not to be a jerk about it. Like, you know, keep other things, you know, worry about the, you know, about this and about the road. And remember when he lands in the court and he puts a hole in the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't want to do this. Like, this is not good. You don't want to do it's just, it's so many great scenes. The scene with the kid, oh my god.
Michelle, that is actually hilarious.
It whispers in his ear, "Call me asshole.
Call me an asshole one more time." And he gets right in his face. He's like, "Go ahead." And the kid goes, "Asshole." And he just grabs him and shoots up.
Doesn't even get the whole word out. He's an asshole. And he's gone. Oh my god, it was great. But the greatest scene in this movie, the absolute golden comedy scene in this movie, is when they put him in jail. And he is walking across the whatever the fuck they call it, right? When he's walking across the floor trying to go to his cell, and now he realizes, he's like, "Oh," he says, I realize I put most of you in here," and that those two guys were right in front of him, and he says, "Look, I'm gonna go to my cell. I don't want no trouble." And he says, "If you say that again, his head is going up your ass." And then the next scene is that you hear the tearing of the the tearing of the jumpsuit, and then the Sanford and Son theme song comes on, which is just fucking
It's
perfect.
the music that makes that scene funny.
It's absolutely it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing, and then see the look of the guy standing there with with the guy's head stuck up his ass. I mean, bro, that was absolutely. I watched this the other day and I had tears in my eyes. I've seen this movie about 15 times, and that shit makes me cry every single time I see it. So go ahead, Jason.
The scene that gets me, that I think is my favorite scene of the movie, is where when the mayor springs him and they want him to go help with defuse the bank heist or the jewelry heist or whatever it is, and the guy's got his hand on the button and he's like, yeah, well, I've got all these kids wired with C4, and if my finger gets off this button, then they're all gonna die, so you're gonna go in there and get that. And Hancock just very nonchalantly takes off the thing from the lamp, and
the lamp, right.
Shade, and he starts like messing with it. He's talking with him, and then he throws it. The next thing you see is him walking with the guy's hand in his head, still on the button.
Yep.
That got me. That was so funny.
Well, what about when they show him the suit and he's like, "Man, I'd rather fly around butt naked than wear that fucking."
He's like, "You have actually."
Oh my god, this shit was great. And he kept saying to the cops, "Good job."
That was what I was about to say. That was my favorite scene of that, where he kept on with the "good job" shit over and over, and he's like, "Listen, you said that. I need you to go save the day. Stop. Like, I need you to end this."
Or is it okay if I touch you?
Yes, not in a sexual manner.
Not
at all. Yeah. It's okay.
It's just like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's like, well, it's not that you're not attractive. You actually are, but still, that's just like, yeah, just get me out of here. What the hell?
I think she actually says, "Get me the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
Oh my god! I feel like there were so many great comic moments in this movie, and a lot of serious shit too. In all seriousness, like that conversation where she fills him in on what happened to him. Mm-hmm. The fact that they can't be together because they lose their power if they're too close to each other. And the fact that they were drawn to each other, and that's why he's messed up, and why she left him, and so on and so forth. So I mean, just some great great action. There was some touching moments in it. There was some comic genius in this film. I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this movie. I love it.
Sorry, leave it. Sorry, Mando's in the room with me right now.
Congratulations on Mando, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're listening, whatever. I have a second dog. The other dog, his name is Marvel, and we just adopted a boy named Mando. So we have Marvel and Mando running amok here. So I just want to make sure he looks like he's going to chew on a damn wire. Stop it. He's 6 months old, so. Hey,
I think he's got some thoughts about Hancock. Let's hear his thoughts.
I think he does. He did watch it with me earlier, so hey, leave it. Okay. So I don't want to rain on a parade. I don't want to be that guy.
Oh, he didn't like it.
He doesn't love this movie.
I saw Hancock in the theaters, by the way. This is not the first time I've seen it. So the first time I saw the unrated one. I did see Hancock in the theaters. I think, honestly, the concept is a really good concept. I just think the movies, for me, it was okay. I don't love it. I think there are certain moments, like you guys have brought up, that are really, really funny. But and I love Will Smith, by the way. I am a huge Will Smith fan. If a movie comes out and he's in it, I'm going to go check it out. And whatever, most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get Wild Wild West. Sometimes you don't. So it does happen. But I don't know. There's something about the execution of it that just doesn't really click for me. I don't know. Like, I talked about the unrated version scene. Again, it's the unrated version, so that won't count. That scene where he goes to the house for the first time, and he lands, and he's there, and he meets her, and you can kind of see, I don't know if they were really trying to hide the...
You lost you.
Yeah, we lost Ed.
Hello?
Yeah, now we got you back.
Okay. All right. Dude, stop screwing around with the wire. Okay, so it's just that he goes in there talking in the house and everything, and then he like leaves after the conversation, and then they show him on the roof later, right? Like he's kind of listening in, and Charlize Theron's character is talking about how much she like doesn't trust him or stuff like that, like speaking ill of him, I guess. How did he land on the roof without doing that? Every time he lands, everything goes like breaks up and things like that. He would put a hole through the roof.
I have an answer for that.
Please.
My answer for that is that he always had the ability to do whatever he wanted. He just didn't give a shit enough to not put a hole in the street.
But I'm just saying, like, they do show him on times when he cares, and there is like an effect, like when he lands. I kind of feel like they would have hurt him. So I don't know. That was a thing that just I thought was kind of like a little bit weird for me. The Michelle scene was funny. I thought the weird thing, because he mentions putting people's heads up another one's ass constantly, and then putting some guy's head up his ass in the opening scene. I didn't know what his obsession was with the weird heads up asses thing, whatever. It just seemed like a thing he kept talking about, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then the crowd. I guess it was something at that time. Remember, in superhero movies, there's always a crowd of people around or behind a barricade, like they do it in Spider-Man 3, and it pisses me off then too. Like it happens again in this movie, and I'm like, was this just something during the era where they had to have a crowd when things? If some shit like that was going down, it would not be a crowd. I'm sorry, it just people would just leave.
Pre cell phone video goes up on the internet, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just a little bit weird. Let me ask you guys something though. The Mike Epps mid-credit scene, was that an unrated? I think I saw that. I think that was in the theatrical cut, no?
Oh, I didn't watch the credits, so I didn't realize there was a credit scene.
I stopped at the end.
Okay, gentlemen. Well, guess what? There is a mid-credit scene.
Wow.
And it is with Mike Epps. It shows him in New York, and he actually mistakenly calls Hancock Handjob. He's like,
I did see that. I did see that. Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty funny thing. And
I forgot it was. I didn't watch it this time.
Okay.
At the end of the credits, I just shut it off. But I do remember that there is that scene with Mike Epps. Yeah, that when he shows up to a job in New York City,
and he jokes around, and he's like, "Oh, cool Wolverine suit," which makes me laugh because at the time the X-Men movie
was out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me laugh. Again, I don't hate the film. I didn't love the film. I think it's okay. It's fine. If it's on, I'll watch it. I'll get entertainment out of it. There's just I don't know, the whole thing with like him and Charlize Theron being like connected and away from you, and like you lose your powers and you don't. And there's things that happen at times when they are close together and no one gets hurt. Like she throws him through like, the house and all of that shit, right? And she throws him into the they're on was it Hollywood Boulevard or something like that? And she throws him again. So if they're near each other, how is he not dead?
I think it's a gradual loss of power. It's not. Yeah.
I wrote down that quote. Hold on. I wrote down the quote, and it says, where is it? Hold on. I got it right here. Okay. It says, "We're becoming mortal. It's us being close together. It's never happened this fast before. You have to leave. The further you get from me, the better off you are. You'll start getting your powers back and flying and breaking things and saving people." And he says, "Why?" And it says, "So we can live human lives, love, connect, grow old, and die." Yeah. So it is a thing. It's she knows. That's the reason why she got away from him, was because she knew that this was going to happen. But I think that as the longer the time that they spend together, the weaker they become and the more human they become. And I think I actually kind of like that whole premise of the whole thing, is that you together as a couple, you actually you adapt to your surroundings so much that you become like the beings that you're around on a daily basis, and and able to do what they do. And I actually kind of dug that part of it.
No, I get the message of it. It's a nice message. I don't have an issue with that. I don't know. I just thought something different may have happened and stuff like that. Like there was going to be some sort of other thing. Like you obviously see, even for the first time you see it, there's a connection between them by the way she looks at him a lot and stuff like that. And I don't think they were trying to hide that. Like there's some big crazy twist at the end.
Right.
The breadcrumbs are obviously there. The foreshadowing is there. I don't know. I just personally, I don't know. There's just something where I just felt like something better or something different. It was kind of like expecting or whatever. But and just with them being close to each other and everything, I just feel like there's, and I got that explanation crystal clear. I just thought it was like, seemed like it was inconsistent at times, because then at the end, when they're apart, like I don't know, there was just something that I just felt it was inconsistent. But I mean, that could just be me. But again, I don't hate the film at all. I'm not trying to like rain on anyone's parade with it. It's just I just thought it was okay, and it was fine. And ironically, actually, I I saw this movie at Atlas Park with Jerry years ago when it came out, and there was these people and that was sitting right behind us, this couple that were having a whole conversation about their day, like nobody was in the theater, and Jerry swore off movie theaters for like 10 years after that. He's like, screw this, I'm not going anymore. I can't deal with this shit.
Wow.
Because the worst thing, we all know this, like if you're a movie fan and you love going to the theater like the three of us do, when someone's yapping and it's not about like, you want crowd reaction, you want cheers, you want, oh shit, like something quick.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't have a full-on conversation.
I don't want to hear what you had for fucking lunch.
Or talking to the screen. You should not be answering the questions of the people on the screen. Like, just zip it, enjoy it. Lose your, like, I immerse myself in the film.
Lose yourself in the film.
And that's it. And to kind of enjoy it. And then, and if it's a really bad film, like when I'll never forget when I went to see Punisher Warzone, and there's one moment that happens in it, and then you just like, listen, I'm watching a comedy now. And you sit back, and then you start laughing for the rest of it. And that's it. You find entertainment one way or the other.
Yeah.
That shit happened to me when I went to see Air Force One. They were a bunch of kids. They had to be like, I don't know, like 15 years old. There had to be 10 or 11 of them, and they would not shut the fuck up throughout the whole film. And about 45 minutes in, I was with my parents and my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. I got up. I walked out of the theater. I went and got the manager, and I'm like, you got to get these fucking kids out of here because, or they won't shut up. They've been shushed about 30 times. So security came in, took them all out. I was like, see ya, goodbye. So I gave, and the movie theater did the right thing. Yeah, well, the movie theater did the right thing. They gave me like 6 passes or 8 passes or whatever it was to go and see other films. But it was, it's brutal when you have people. I find it doesn't happen as much now because movies are so fucking expensive that even kids that go see it, they're like, they're going to sit and they're going to watch the whole thing and they're not going to talk during it. But when I was younger, oh my God, that shit used to happen all the time. It drove me crazy.
Yeah, and I also just think that it's part of the reason, like, as much as we all go on the first night, like we go to the screening night on Thursday, 6:00, whatever the first showing is, because I kind of feel like when you really want to see a movie, that's the showing you're going to go to.
Right.
You're not going to go, like, I don't do Friday nights, rarely do Saturday nights. Except Jason, I actually think the last time I did bullshit. The Saturday night I did was me and Andrew went to see Tenet in Connecticut. But again, global pandemic.
Right.
If you were going to see a movie now, you really wanted to see the movie. You aren't going to go there to talk. Yeah, this strategic. I pick my times very strategically when I go to the theaters because, like, instead of calling and they call the zombies in The Walking Dead the walkers, I refer to them as the talkers. Like brain dead morons that can't just go to a theater and just enjoy what's on the screen, take in the dialogue and everything. Immerse yourself, lose yourself in the film, and just have a good time.
Well, I think my worst experience, I'll tell it real quick, is my wife and I went to go see Heredity, and the girl in Heredity does this whistling thing, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah,
so some idiot, we were enjoying the movie, but some drunk idiot in our row kept just doing the whistling thing over and over. It was so just like they thought they were being funny. It's like, you're ruining this movie. Would you stop?
Yeah, just shut the fuck up, man. Like, why? Why do you feel that no one's here for your comedy, dude? Like,
right? We're here for the movie.
Exactly.
When I went to see Civil War for like the 3rd time, there was this dude that was he was, I don't know if he was on his phone or he was talking to someone, and the guy in front of me literally stood up, turned to him, and said, "Will you shut the fuck up?" And I was like, "Oh, my bad, man. I'm sorry. I didn't know you could hear me." Yeah. I was like, "What are you kidding me? Like, shut up! Just watch the movie." I really will only go if I go to a movie on a weekend. It's going to be like when I take the kids, like during the day or something like that. But every other right, exactly. Any other time I go see a movie, it's always going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are usually my days to go.
I pick them. I try to pick the most random times that no Friday nights because the date nights, because you get those jerk offs that are trying to impress their date. Mm-hmm. Saturday nights, the same thing, and other nights are usually kind of safe. But yes, either it's usually Thursday night premiere or Saturday or Sunday morning matinee. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite times to go usually.
I get out of work early because I teach high school, so I got to work at 3 o'clock, 3:30, and so my favorite thing is when I want to see a movie, just go to a matinee right after work.
That's great,
and then that's it. For the most part, there's no one there because it's a weekday matinee, just a handful of people. It's wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. Before we close out, there's a PSA. As theaters are starting to reopen, I know in New York we're getting 50%. Don't be an asshole. Okay, and don't call Hancock an asshole. Those are two things don't be an asshole. Don't do these things
because your head's going up his ass.
Exactly. That is one time I get behind calling putting someone's head up someone's ass when you're talking during a movie in a theater. Zip it, people. So, all right, let's wrap that up then. Thanks for joining us, whoever it is that you are. We really appreciate the support on the Facebook page as well. If you like what you've heard tonight, go on Facebook, join the Granny's Peach Tea Facebook page, like it. Conversation goes on daily. We share stories and shit like that. Everyone comments. It's a great time. Have fun. And then if you're already doing that, we appreciate it. We lost Jason. So Mando is laying down, so it wasn't him. He's chilling out now. So that's it. After us is going to be Jada and Kyle. They're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 1995, so that should be awesome. Stick with us on Pop Culture Pros. We'll be back next week. I think we were looking at Friday night potentially as our Friday night show because I know we can't do next Wednesday, but we'll post it and we'll share what time we're going to be on next week. We'll be covering the season finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, CW-verse stuff, next episode of Invincible, and our movie next week is going to be Frank Miller's Sin City. Yes. So we're super excited for that. We can't wait to talk about that. Hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Monday nights, check out A to Z. Eric's always doing some cool shit with Dave, and they're discussing topics from anywhere from A to Z. Tuesday nights, if you're into wrestling, you got Just Too Sweet show, and then you also got the Four Quarters show where Dave is everywhere. They talk about everything to do with sports. Wednesday nights, usually before us, is the Put in a Book show if you're a Mets fan, so check that out. And me and Jerry are actually going to be doing the Empire 161 show. We might be doing a Monday afternoon show next week. So if you're a Yankees fan, check that out, like it, and join that Facebook group as well. And we talk about Yankees and Star Wars, and who knows? We were talking about crazy stuff. If Jerry's involved, that's usually where it's going to end up. So it was a good time. So you guys got anything to say before we sign off?
No, man. No. See you guys next week for more geeky goodness.
Absolutely. Tony?
No, just looking forward to the finale of Falcon Winter Soldier, and this is going to be I think it's going to be a great episode, so looking forward to discussing it with the guys.
Yeah, can't wait for it. So stay safe, enjoy your weeks, and see you next time, guys.